Okay, let's unpack this. Think about laundry. You know, that chore most of us do every week, maybe more. Seems pretty mundane, right? But what if I told you washing and drying clothes? Well, it's actually a massive economic engine. It's not just chores. This everyday thing is a multi-billion-dollar global industry, and it's growing incredibly fast.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into the world of washing machines and dryers globally. We're working from a detailed forecast by Cognitive Market Research. It covers trends from 2021, looks ahead to 2025, and forecasts all the way out to 2033. Our mission, to pull out the key insights and really surprising facts for you so you get the picture on this often, well, overlooked sector.
And what's fascinating right off the bat is just the sheer scale of it and the speed of the expansion we're expecting. It really says something about, global economics, lifestyle changes.
Agree.
It's more than just buying a new appliance. So the market was already pulling in just under $59 billion back in 2021, which is a lot.
That's substantial, yeah. But the projected growth is where it gets really interesting. It's expected to jump to nearly $85 billion by 2025.
Wow. Okay.
And then, get this, it's projected to hit a staggering $174.5 billion by 2033.
$174 billion.
That's right. Which works out to a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of about 9.5%. Almost 10% growth year on year for a global industry this size. That's huge. It suggests demand is surging way beyond just replacing old machines.
Right. So here's where it gets really interesting, breaking that down geographically. Where is this massive growth actually happening? And, what does that tell us? Let's start our tour in North America. Okay, so this region, U.S., Canada, Mexico, was already over $20 billion back in 2021. It's looking like it'll cross $28.5 billion by 2025. And the projection for 2033, almost $57 billion. That's nearly triple the 2021 figure.
Yeah, it's strong growth. About an 8.9, maybe close to 9% average annual growth for North America overall.
And within that?
Well, the U.S. is the giant, no surprise there. It makes up most of that market, projected to hit almost $45 billion by 2033 itself. But what's kind of interesting is, while the U.S. CAGR is robust, around 8.8%, Canada's is actually slightly higher, over 9.5% CAGR for Canada, reaching about $7.6 billion. And Mexico's looking dynamic too, expected to hit over $4.2 billion, with a 9.1% CAGR.
So the U.S. is the biggest chunk, but its neighbors are growing a bit faster.
Exactly. It might point to maybe faster appliance adoption or changing household setups there. Interesting dynamics.
Okay, let's shift focus. Across the Atlantic now, Europe, how does it look there? A more mature market, maybe? Still showing healthy growth, though, right?
Definitely. Steady is a good word for it.
So the total market in Europe was over $12.5 billion in 21, projected to hit around $17.6 billion in 2025. And then looking out to 2033, doubling to over $35 billion. That's a pretty consistent 9% CAGR for the continent.
That's right. And diving into specific countries, Germany is really leading the way in Europe, forecasted to reach over $8.6 billion by 2033. And its growth rate is strong too, 9.6% CAGR. The UK also shows really solid expansion. It was under $2 billion in 2021, but expected to reach $5.6 billion by 2033. That's a 9.3% CAGR.
So even in these developed economies, there's still significant demand. What's driving that, do you think? Efficiency, smart homes?
Likely a mix of all that. Replacing older models with more energy-efficient ones. Smart features are becoming more common. Maybe some increase in household formation too. And it's broad-based. You see France, Italy, Spain, all set to add billions to the market.
Yeah.
With solid high single-digit growth rates.
Right.
It points to a widespread sort of modernization trend. Even smaller wealthy nations like Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, they're showing strong growth too. Widespread upgrades or new appliance ownership.
Okay, but if we're looking for the real growth leader, the engine driving this global expansion,
Then you have to look at Asia Pacific. Absolutely.
this region is showing the strongest overall growth globally. The numbers must be pretty striking.
They really are. Asia Pacific started at just over $17 billion in 2021.
Okay.
It's expected to surge past $25 billion by 2025.
And the 2033 projection?
Massive, over $55 billion, and it boasts the highest regional CGR anywhere, a remarkable 10.3%.
Wow, 10.3% across that whole huge region. What's behind that kind of explosive growth?
It's a combination of powerful factors, really.
Yeah.
China is, of course, a huge part of it, dominating the region. It's projected to grow from $5 billion in 2021 to over $16.5 billion by 2033. That's a 10.5% CAGR right there.
Very strong.
But, and this is a key insight from the report, look at India.
India.
India actually leads the entire world in terms of individual country growth rate. An incredible 11.1% CAGR.
11%. That's phenomenal.
It is. It means their market expands from about $2.5 billion in 21 to a projected $8.8 billion by 2033.
So what's the story there? What does that signal?
It signals a massive underlying shift. Rapid urbanization, a fast-growing middle class with more disposable income, and critically increasing access to basics like electricity and reliable plumbing. For millions, getting a washing machine isn't just a convenience.
It's a life changer.
Exactly. It frees up so much time, especially for women, for work, for education. It directly impacts economic participation. It's a big deal.
That really puts it in perspective.
And it's not just China and India.
Yeah.
You see very high growth rates in South Korea, Singapore, much of Southeast Asia as well. Singapore's CAGR, interestingly, is projected even slightly higher than China's, over 10.5%. Japan's strong too, around 9.5% CAGR.
It really paints a picture of, well, a global rebalancing of consumer spending power, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's round out our world tour. We need to look at the emerging powerhouses in South America, the Middle East, and Africa. Where should we start? South America.
Right.
South America, the forecast there. $3.7 billion back in 2021, set to hit nearly $5.5 billion in 2025, and expected to more than double again, reaching over $11.5 billion by 2033. That's a very healthy growth rate, 9.7, almost 9.8% CAGR.
Very healthy indeed. Brazil leads the pack there in terms of overall size, projected to reach almost $5 billion by 2033 with a strong 9.6% CAGR. But echoing that theme of accelerated growth in emerging markets, look at Argentina.
Argentina showing strong growth, too.
Really strong. An impressive 10.3% CAGR. That's forecast to take its market over $2.1 billion by 2033.
So similar drivers as in Asia-Pacific, rising incomes, urbanization.
Precisely. Growing emphasis on household convenience as incomes rise. And you see solid growth, well over 9%. In Colombia, Peru, Chile too, it's widespread across the continent.
Okay, moving on to the Middle East, also looking like significant expansion there.
Yes, definitely another region showing strong potential.
The numbers show the Middle East market was just over $3 billion in 2021, growing to over $4.3 billion by 2025, and projected to hit an impressive $9.1 billion by 2033. That's a solid 9.6–9.7% CAGR overall.
Correct. And within the region, Saudi Arabia is projected to grow to over $2 billion by 2033. Turkey, just under that at $1.9 billion. But the UAE really stands out again here.
And their high growth rate.
Yeah, surging towards $1.4 billion by 2033 with a CGR over 10.4%, one of the highest globally again. Egypt and Qatar are also showing very robust growth, consistently above 9%. It points to continued development, population growth, rising living standards driving that appliance demand.
Right. And finally, let's wrap up the regional picture with Africa, also showing strong signs of an expanding consumer base. The data shows Africa had a market of nearly $2.3 billion in 2021, growing to about $3.4 billion in 2025, and projected to reach almost $7 billion by 2033. So a consistent 9%, maybe slightly higher, average annual growth for the continent.
That's about right, 9.084% CAGR. And the key countries there. Nigeria is projected to rise to over $1.1 billion by 2033. That's a 9.3% CAGR. Shows potential as the continent's largest economy.
And South Africa?
South Africa shows significant growth as well, expected to reach nearly $2.7 billion by 2033, and that's with a strong 9.7, almost 9.8% CAGR.
So again, it underscores that broad development trend. Improved electricity access, more purchasing power, driving appliance adoption across diverse African nations.
Yep.
So what does this all mean? I mean, we started talking about laundry, just a simple chore, and we've uncovered this, well, astonishing picture. A global industry, maybe one we don't think about much in economic terms, that isn't just growing, it's poised for really massive, almost exponential expansion over the next decade. It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How our daily habits, just tossing clothes in a machine, connect to these huge global economic shifts.
Yeah, if you connect the dots, the big picture is the sheer scale, first of all, and then the consistency of the high growth rates. We're seeing this across incredibly diverse regions, different economies. It's a powerful indicator of global development, rising living standards, wider appliance adoption.
And clearly a shift towards emerging markets leading that growth.
Undeniably. The report really highlights that global recalibration of consumer spending power. And just to reiterate those key standouts, India leads globally for country growth, over 11% CAGR. And Asia-Pacific leads regionally, over 10% CAGR. That tells a story about where the market leadership is shifting.
It really does. Which brings us to a final thought, a question for you, the listener, to mull over. Considering these diverse growth rates we've talked about and this clear shift in market momentum towards emerging economies by 2033, what does this really tell you about the evolving global economy? About changing consumer needs and aspirations worldwide? And maybe what might be the next everyday industry that's quietly poised for this kind of explosive global growth?